Hello, so this screenshot is from Owner of a Lonely Heart, so it's like a mini movie from Yes, YES, from, say, the 1980s. I never knew that it would become so relevant to me. I always knew that in our family there was deep sorrow. Deep sorrow. I wouldn't call it depression, but I would call a sense of gravity. It makes me really sad. It makes me sad because if you watch that video, if you watch it, there's a guy who jumps off a building, and that's exactly what my brother did. And he was my only sibling, and I didn't urge him on to do it, folks. I mean, it never entered into my mind. I always thought he was a bit of a prima donna, and he was just kind of like, being dramatic and stuff when he would do his stuff. But I never knew he would actually jump off a building. I'm not the happy cheerleader. I mean, I may sound like the happy cheerleader, but I'm really not. Clarence, my cat, is a happy cheerleader. He's always purring. As long as you're petting him, he's purring. So, we all need to be more like Clarence. Oh, dear, dear moo-moos. Hello, poo-poos. Oh, yes. He's moo-moos. Yes, I mean, well, if you see that video by Yes. Somehow we all feel responsibility when somebody decides to take their own life. In my case, he was my only brother. And my husband still says, well, I think somebody pushed him off the building. Maybe the girl had an insurance policy on him. I mean, possibly. I mean, if that's the case, then prosecute her for insurance fraud. I mean, follow it up. After all, it makes sense. He was no good to her anymore as a lover, because he'd lost his ardor and his opportunity, apparently. She had too many other things in the way. Things, I say. But at least you can cash in on his life by having him die. Oh, well. I just wonder, folks. I don't know if you know anything about my brother's untimely death. Please tell me, because it's not that I want to collect. I just want to see the right people put in jail. If somebody pushed him off the roof, I want them to be punished to the nth degree, because I'm angry about it. If somebody orchestrated it. So if you know anything about my brother's death, which happened, well, we'll say 4 or 5 years ago, I'm still driving his car. It's like I have his car. Is that weird? Yeah, I have his car. That's the only thing I have left to remember him by. I might have posted a few pictures of him. He was this little blonde-haired, blue-eyed little kid. It's like he looks like the total opposite of me, the gypsy sister, but I'm actually his full-blooded sister. I mean, we are sister and brother. I feel so bad. I mean, I cared for that kid so much. You can't believe how much I cared for that kid. I remember one time when I was supposed to be babysitting him, maybe I was like 9 or 10 years old. Couldn't have been more than that. And I had become convinced that he swallowed the cap to his diaper rash ointment. He was still crawling around looking just fine. I thought, oh no, he's going to die because he swallowed the cap to his diaper rash ointment. Well, if he hasn't choked on it, he's probably going to pass it. I would have said to myself, the older self would have said to my younger self, but I was convinced that kid was going to die. And I finally found it. Oh no, it just rolled under the cupboards we had in the kitchen. What a relief. I mean, I protected his life like nobody's business. I guarded his life. I can't believe that he'd be gone. I don't believe it. It's not funny, folks, but sometimes you have to laugh. If you don't laugh, then you're going to cry. I'm sad that he died. Stop it. Stop. I'll laugh. It's not funny. Oh. Well, tell me, Erica, more of the backstory. Oh, please. Oh. In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. He said it was good. No, don't go back that far. Okay, so when my brother was born, my mother kind of had him prematurely, and he was 5 pounds 9.5 ounces. So his head was a little bit small. It remained small throughout most of his life, actually. Like my head is small too. And I remember we went to the hospital, and it was freezing rain coating the windows, but we made it to Worcester Community Hospital or whatever. And it was in Ohio. I went up to the desk because I really wanted to see my brother, but I was just a little girl, and I didn't want to, bother the lady. She ignored me for, 20 fucking minutes, and then they closed the curtains. It's like, fuck you, bitch. I just can I see him? I wanted to see him, In those days, they would display the babies, It's like they'd have these big windows. You could see the babies who were in their little incubators, and it's like she just fucking ignored me for 20 fucking minutes. I never used to use bad language, but now I do. I'm over age 40, so I suppose I'm allowed to do so. But eventually they brought my brother home, and I love that kid. I loved him more than I loved my own life. I would have sacrificed myself to save that kid. Actually, if he were in a burning building, I would have run in and burnt to death if it meant that he would survive. I mean, that's how much I loved him. He was my only sibling. But seemingly, he chose to take his own life. It's a difficult situation because there was some misconduct involved on behalf of a particular police department. I actually contacted them. I said, we want to sue that police department. We want it. But my parents were not. My parents had the money, but they wouldn't even give him a funeral. In fact, his ashes are in the basement along with my mother's ashes. It's like they're in the basement. It's like they wouldn't even. It's not that my parents didn't care. They just didn't know how to care, I suppose. So I could show them to you, but I don't have the heart to do it. It makes me too sad to think that, the life is reduced to a little tiny box full of ashes. And when he did very well for himself in terms of his accomplishments with computer technology and, being a musician and things like that, I don't, who's to blame? It's not people. I'm not really angry at people because there really isn't any point being angry at people. If they had known better, they would have done better. That's what I say about myself. If I had known better, I would have done better. So I'm the last person to judge or condemn. I guess I have to blame Satan, because I think that there is a devil and that he is evil and that he orchestrated things so that my brother would die far too young. He was in his 30s, really his mid-30s, and he wasn't like a 22-year-old. I think God, if you don't mind me editorializing just a little bit, I think God kind of puts his cloak of protection over people who are young a lot of the time He just shields them from things that could truly, seriously, permanently harm them. But the cloak of protection had been taken off of my brother for some reason, because he was old enough to know better, and God said, well, just do what you will. So I'm not saying that John is responsible for his own death, which, if he jumped off the building, he's not entirely responsible, because they were factors that contributed to it. They were bad people that came into his life. And I tried to be one of the good people. I tried to present him with the gospel of Jesus Christ. I mean, nobody who knows God would want to kill themselves. I mean, it might feel like hell on earth sometimes, but I never lose hope, because I feel as if I have treasure in heaven. I'm sorry, because in fact, I felt that the better I have done in terms of the kingdom of God, the worse the world regards me. I'm regarded as much worse. And I count it all as loss. I don't care. I have treasure in heaven if God is happy with me. I mean, I would love to help people. I believe that I am helping people. I would love to have people love me. But if they don't, eventually they will. That's my opinion, because I don't lift a finger against any person. I don't buy guns. I'm not like a weirdo, like trying to incite riots or anything like that. I'm just trying to get people to think and read the Bible. And gosh darn it, read the New Testament. The Old Testament is great too. In fact, when I put my kids to bed, I can't think of any. There are no interesting stories in the New Testament. All the interesting stories in the Old Testament: David and Goliath, Samson and Delilah, Jonah and the whale, Noah and the ark. Those are interesting stories. The New Testament is like, oh, well, he preached the gospel and then people stoned him and he died, Right, Clarence? He's just laughing, I got my cat here with me. Oh, yeah. It's okay. But, I feel bad, because my mother actually did want us to have religion. Mom wasn't always perfect in terms of her Catholicism. And as for me, Catholicism is okay, but I really don't believe in praying the rosary. I feel as if your faith in Jesus Christ is enough, and you don't have to confess to another human being. You confess only to Jesus. He's the one intermediary between God and men. That's very orthodox. I don't think it's a bizarre belief. I'm not against Catholicism. I probably wouldn't have left the Catholic Church if Mom hadn't gotten a divorce. You don't want me to dig this stuff up. I don't resent her. It's okay. I don't know. I just feel as if there's some people out there. It's like, oh, I wish I had a wife and a family, and you're regretting your decision perhaps to go into the priesthood. But this guy kind of looks like a priest in a way. It's like, don't regret it. Paul said you're going to have a lot of cares and burdens if you marry. And that's true. Whether it's for women or men, it's true. Don't envy me my life. It's, boy, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah, I've been married since I was married in 1993, but even though my husband loves me and I love him, it has not been easy. I've had 9 children. Do you think all of them love me? Why wouldn't they? Because you're a great person. No, am I? I mean, I'm presenting myself as a very nice person. But, I mean, this is how I really would like to be presented. I'm not trying to, pretend I'm otherwise. But, at times I've been a bit obstreperous. We would say that. But I get angry sometimes. As a human being, our anger is not what God, would want human anger.